The following slideshow is a presentation by Judy Kuriazis, owner of GlassArtTools.com, a website offering innovative tools for glass fusers. Welcome. This is the first in a three-part series about ways to prepare glass so that you can add your own imagery and colors to your fusing designs. In this first slideshow, we'll talk about one way to paint on glass without preparing it at all, except to clean and dry it. Check our YouTube channel for other parts of this series. If you picture raindrops beating up and rolling down a window pane, you'll get an idea of how most paints behave when brushed on untreated glass. However, there is one brand of moderately priced glass paint that works on polished surfaces, and that's Glassline. Glassline paint pens come in bottles with nozzle tips that allow you to squirt colors directly onto your glass sheet. You can draw finer lines by using their special applicator tips. Glassline paints work with all COEs of glass. There are many other paints for glass fusing, but I've tested Glassline and they seem well adapted for applying directly on polished glass. So let's experiment. In this test piece, I squirted several colors of Glassline paint onto a piece of burnt orange opal glass. Notice the pastel colors of this paint when wet. They might or might not remain this shade, depending on how hot you fuse them. The firing temperature is the key. I then worked the paints with a palette knife. If you look closely, you'll see I've used the knife to swirl the colors into each other right on the glass. You don't want to pile these paints on too thick though, because cracks might form in their surface during fusing. Finally, I sprinkled on some black opal glass powder just for fun. I let it all dry and full fused the piece to 1490 degrees Fahrenheit. You can fuse these paints open to the kiln air or covered by another layer of glass and heat to whatever temperature is right for you up to the 1500 degrees Fahrenheit the manufacturer recommends. After a full fuse, the colors become much deeper and brighter with a shiny surface. They've actually fused into and become part of the glass itself, which is a big positive of Glassline paints. Here's something you'll want to know about Glassline paints. This is a before and after comparison of a piece that I did using Glassline paint spread with a palette knife on plum opal glass. In the pre-fusing shot on the left, the paints entirely covered the glass. But after fusing, shown on the right, the plum background glass shows through in spots. So be sure to choose a color of opal glass that will go well with whatever you're painting. You can manipulate Glassline paints in a variety of ways. Here, I let them dry just a bit, then combed through them. You can carve through semi-moist paints to reveal the background glass by using our silicone tip color shapers. Or you can thin them with water and airbrush them on, then scrape them off like sgraffito with a hard tool like a sharpened chopstick. Note the tones of the teal and turquoise colors before fusing. After fusing at a lower temperature range, about 1260 to 1310 degrees, the painted areas lighten to a pastel and have a matte textured surface instead of becoming darker and shiny. You'll see that I've added some glass powders and will put the piece back in the kiln again. Here's the result, just one example of the many possibilities involved in working with Glassline paints. I encourage you to experiment with layering painted pieces for additional depth, or adding glass powders and fusing multiple times to achieve effects that are all your own. Now, if you want to apply paints to glass with a paintbrush, a polished surface is just too smooth to grip the paint well, and the result is an uneven application that shows all your brush strokes. Smooth glass doesn't work well for chalks or pencils either. At this point, it's time to start thinking about creating a matte surface on your glass, and that's the topic of our next slideshow, Part 2, Finding the Best Glass Surface for Your Medium. Thanks for watching. And just so you know, you can find Glassline paints, applicator tips, and many other color media for glass on our Glass Art Tools website, all at great savings for artists.